Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our webinar on the biodiversity crisis and faith action. My name is Lassis Sabata from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in Canada, and I'm from the Ukrainian Catholic Eparchy of Saskatoon. And I am thrilled to have you join us today. We're excited to have so many wonderful participants joining us from all over the world, whether they're from Africa, North America, as far as Indonesia, Bangladesh. Thank you so much for joining us. We have many faith groups, NGOs, and people from the Ecumenical Institute, and many new people. Over the next hour, we will explore the relationship between the biodiversity crisis and faith action. And I wanted to start off today by introducing Reverend Dr. Jessica Hetherington, who is going to be opening the prayer and give us a little bit of the theological background. The Reverend Dr. Jessica Hetherington is an eco-theologian and ordained minister in the United Church of Canada. Working at the intersection of ecology and theology for 20 years, she inspires people of faith to take meaningful climate action. She serves on the World Council of Churches Commission on the Churches on Climate Justice and Sustainable Development, and the World Communion of Reformed Churches Climate Justice Core Group. Welcome, Jessica.
Let us pray. God of all creation, we give you thanks for bringing us here into this space from all around your globe. Please guide and bless this time together, that it benefits the whole creation, all of biodiversity, that it strengthens our will and our hearts to seek earth healing. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. We are in the biodiversity crisis because dominant society has been built upon a way of seeing the world, ourselves, and God that defines human beings as separate from and superior to the rest of the natural world. We have created a worldview that has played a central role in getting us into this biodiversity crisis, as well as the climate crisis as well. Worldview is how we attempt to name and frame our reality. It is how we ask and answer the questions of who we are, what the world is, where we have come from, and where we are going. The power of worldview is greater than we may realize, for it actually informs the actions that we take in the world, how we move through the world. It impacts the choices human beings make collectively on how to live together, how to function, how we understand who we are, how we define the world and what it means, and how we comprehend where we came from and imagine where we are going. All of this informs and shapes our actions in the world and shapes the way we seek to be whole human beings in a world of mystery and beauty. The dominant worldview today, the one that is driving global power and capitalism, global might and war, is also the one at the root of predominant strains within Christianity. Within our Christian faith, we have a disordered worldview, where we see humans as divorced from and superior to the rest of the natural world. This is the mainstream worldview that has functioned and is continuing to function throughout the world and is foundational to the history of colonization, white supremacy, and misogyny as well. Such an understanding was developed from the sciences of René Descartes, Francis Bacon, Isaac Newton, and others, from whom Christian theologians and leaders inherited an understanding of knowledge and progress as a linear trajectory forward, with all power and right accorded to human beings, while really to certain human beings, primarily white, male, and Christian. This worldview is based on the idea that the physical world is devoid of sacred meaning and is there to be conquered and mastered by human beings. Progress is measured, among other things, by how thoroughly we are able to conquer and master the material world around us. We see the damage this worldview has caused to the Earth community and its people. We see the damage in habitat loss and species extinction, in the loss of rights for Indigenous and local communities, and so much more. Yet this worldview of separation and human superiority is wrong. It is wrong ethically because we witness its effects everywhere. It is wrong scientifically, for science has proven that human beings are part of a complex, interdependent, and interconnected web of life. It is also wrong within Christianity because there is still an enduring stream of recognition in our scriptures and moving through history that God is the God of all creation, that God is incarnate within the natural world. Jesus was fully human. He was fully part of the earth community, just like you and me. There are theologians and pastors who have not forgotten this. The language we often use within the Christian church to encourage more ecological ways of relating to the earth community is the language of stewardship. We talk about the need for wise stewardship of God's creation, for a gentler dominion based on Genesis 1:26. However, this is not good enough in this time of biodiversity crisis. It's not good enough to talk about stewardship, for it continues to see human beings as separate from the rest of the natural world. It's a way of framing that continues to see humans, and again, certain privileged humans, as overlords, caretakers of nature. But we are neither overlords nor caretakers. When we look at how we've been doing as caretakers, we have done such an awful job that we are now in the 6th great extinction period on Earth. Instead, we are part of the Earth community, and God is inviting us to recognize our place within the Earth community once again. It is only by reorienting ourselves as one species among many, learning from and with the natural world, that we will have any hope of protecting biodiversity, limiting species extinction, protecting local and Indigenous communities, and so much more. This needs to be realized in our actions, but it is our worldview that drives those actions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Jessica, for your wonderful, thoughtful prayer and the possibilities of what could happen and are happening, and we appreciate your contribution. So this webinar about the biodiversity crisis and faith action aims to raise awareness. We want to educate the participants about the biodiversity crisis, its causes and consequences. We'll identify the problem with a video presentation from the World Wildlife Fund video, and we'll hear about the solutions. We also want to explore faith perspectives and discuss how different faith traditions view environmental stewardship and the role of faith in addressing the biodiversity crisis. We will be hearing from the youth and from Indigenous communities. And we hope to inspire action, motivate our participants to take action individually and collectively to protect biodiversity and promote sustainability. And finally, we hope to foster community. We want to provide a platform for like-minded individuals to connect, share experiences, and collaborate on environmental initiatives. The relationship between the biodiversity crisis and faith action is deeply interconnected with many faith communities, recognizing the importance of caring and protecting the natural world. Theological reflections on biodiversity from a Christian perspective can be explored through several themes. And some of these themes are stewardship, a Christian belief humans are entrusted by God to care for creation. This stewardship includes preserving biodiversity, recognizing the intricate web of life and our role within it. There's also the theme of the image of God and creation's value. The concept of human beings made in God's image can extend to understanding all creation as bearing some reflection of God's glory. Biodiversity reflects God's creativity and wisdom. Another theme that's found within the Christian perspective is interconnectedness. The Bible emphasizes harmony among creation, found in Isaiah 11:6-9, Romans 8:19-23. And this interconnectedness underscores the importance of biodiversity for ecological balance and health. There are also some theologians who see environmental degradation, including biodiversity loss, as consequences of human sin. Restoration effects can be seen as part of redemption, aligning with Christian teachings on renewal. And finally, the last theme we could be looking at is caring for the least. Jesus' teaching on caring for the least among us can include concerns for vulnerable species and ecosystems, reflecting God's justice and love. I wanted to start off with focusing on the problem. Reverend Rachel Mash, who is from the Season of Creation, will give a short introduction of a 1-minute video from the World Wildlife Fund. And Reverend Rachel Mash is the coordinator of the Anglican Communion Environmental Network. She is based in Cape Town, South Africa, and works with the Green Anglicans movement, which started in South Africa and has now spread to 13 African countries. She is also chair of the Ecumenical International Season of Creation Committee and a task team member on the United Nations Environmental Program's Faith for Earth task team on pollution. She is passionate about climate justice and raising the voices of young people, and is on the advisory group, which the Climate Yes Ecumenical Youth Climate Justice Movement. Welcome, Reverend Rachel.
Thank you so much. This year we celebrate 10 years of the Laudato Si encyclical, which was written by Pope Francis. And he says this: each year sees the disappearance of thousands of plant and animal species, which we will never know, which our children will never see, because they have been lost forever. And it is fitting that we start this webinar with the time of lament. And we're going to watch a video produced by WWF. Every 2 years, they produce a report called the Living Planet Report. And actually, we should call it the Dying Planet Report. Because sadly, in the last 50 years, 73% of animals, wild animals, have died out on this planet. And this is a tragedy, and this is a sorrow. And so let us start by watching this video in a moment of silence, as hearing what God is saying to us. Thank you.
In every continent, country, community, we're seeing the ashes of a planet in peril. A catastrophic 73% decline in the average size of wildlife populations in just 50 years. Ecosystems in collapse, bringing us dangerously close to irreversible tipping points, which threaten our homes and livelihoods, our food and water supplies, our way of life, and we're headed towards these points of no return. Ice sheets are melting, and ground is thawing, bringing sea level rise and unleashing greenhouse gases, while the Earth's lungs, the Amazon rainforest, faces continued destruction, reducing rainfall and accelerating the climate crisis. If we don't act quickly, impacts will be felt everywhere by everyone. Let's pull together to avoid tipping our planet over the edge. It will take every corporation, community, country leader to take urgent action like our lives depend on it. Because they do. We know what needs to be done. Let's act faster. Together.
Thank you, Reverend Rachel Mass, for sharing this very sobering video. And next, we have the solutions part of the webinar. And here we are going to ask Dr. Luke Andrianos from the World Council of Churches and consultant for the Care for Creation, Sustainability and Climate Justice, and a founding member of Faiths for Diversity Coalition. He received his PhD in Sustainable Development Sciences from the Technical University of Crete, with a second master's degree in plant molecular biology. He excels in ecotheology and astrobiology. He is also a member of the Royal Institute Advisory Council and registered as a co-research at the University of the Western Cape for the projects on An Earth Faith, telling the story amid the Anthropocene. He was born in Madagascar and lives permanently in Crete. We also have Mrs. Floride Getty from France. She is the program coordinator for the environment and sustainability at Soka Gakka International as Space for Biodiversity. So welcome, Dr. Luke and Floride Getty. And we look forward to hearing about some of these solutions that you are going to be discussing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Lesia. Hello, everyone. Happy International Biodiversity Day. May God bless this webinar and all of you to put part of your time to pray together for biodiversity and also to try to act together because we are in crisis, especially for biodiversity. And as we say, and people should know that without biodiversity, there is no life. Without plants, there is no oxygen. So the simplest way to understand that we cannot have life if there is no biodiversity. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar and also working together with all my colleagues to protect biodiversity and creation justice. And I would like to share a small PowerPoint very quickly to explain with you what could be also and should be a solution from our part. I think you see my PowerPoint.
Yes, it's good.
It's good. Okay. So my point is about the urgency of faith engagement on biodiversity, international high-level COP, and also contributing to the commemoration of the International Day of Biodiversity as our part to protect biodiversity. So this year, the theme of the International Day for Biodiversity is harmony with nature and sustainable development. So the political world and the secular world and also all of us, we are trying and to do our best to live in harmony with nature because we don't. And the result is the ecological crisis and the biodiversity crisis that we are experiencing right now. The thing is that some people are not realizing yet this emergency of the ecological crisis. So we need to do more work to raise awareness to all of them and also to convince ourselves to do more for giving more right to biodiversity and the creation as a whole. So I just want to share some pictures and also some, I would say, outcomes of the faith engagement on biodiversity COP16 in Cali last year, because it was really the first time that WCC was engaged in such an important gathering and meeting to protect the right of biodiversity. So at this meeting in Cali, many Christians, youth, indigenous, academicians, theologians, biologists, politicians, journalists, and many other kinds of people were gathering to find solutions, how to stop this biodiversity crisis and how to improve the life on Earth globally. we have heard and we have experienced in the statistics from this science world that species are going to extinct. And for instance, the 2022 Living Planet Index reported clearly that the average decline is about 70%. So more than 50% we will have a decline of a biodiversity population. Now the next slide, we can see that faith coalitions and indigenous communities and all people of goodwill are trying together to collaborate with the political institutions to stop this biodiversity loss and also to pray together and act in helping those countries which are suffering most from deforestation. We should acknowledge that indigenous communities are the most efficient and most responsible for protecting our biodiversity. And we are also acknowledging that the most threatened forests are in these countries. Next slide, we'll see that the tropical forests are destroyed at fastest recorded rate last year. That was a report from the BBC yesterday. If you have listened to BBC News yesterday, like I did, I was struck by this news, and the statistics show that the loss of primary forests is still increasing, and especially last year it was reached the peak of the bad situation. So scientific and political efforts to protect biodiversity are not sufficient without the engagement of faith-based organizations, such as we do through churches and through many volunteers and the communal bodies who are giving not only the biological values to biodiversity, but most of all the spiritual values, because they are all equal creation of God, like we are. So the next slide, we will see that the engagement of all of us from the faith institutions, we can see some results, good results, I would say, and we have to be optimistic and we have to share hope. From the COP16, the last COP16 on biodiversity, we saw the greater visibility and the greater right given to indigenous people and also the African communities for their rights and for their role to conserve and protect the biological diversity. There was also an agreement on the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources, like they call the Kali Foundation. But I hope that our colleague Flor Getty will give us more on the outcome of the COP16. So with the next slide, I would like to close my small intervention and thank you all for celebrating together the Biodiversity Day with the Working Group on Biodiversity and Creation Justice of the Commission on Climate Justice and Sustainable Development. Thank you very much, and I pass on the floor to Getty and stop my sharing. Okay, Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. It's very nice to see you. I'm very happy to be here with you today to celebrate biodiversity and find solutions together, share hope. So yes, I'm going to talk a bit about COP16 and the Faith Coalition at COP16 also. I'm going to do a brief recap of COP16 because I think we've heard of it a lot, but there was also something that happened is that COP16 happened twice, once in Cali and then the second half in Rome in February, because as you may have heard, on finance agreement was not reached in COP16, and so they had to reconvene. So one, as Dr. Luke said, the major highlight of Cali was indeed the establishment of a subsidiary body on Article 8J, which was a great achievement for Indigenous people regarding the meaningful participation of Indigenous people in decision making and in the processes of negotiations. So that was a very good point. And then a point that was also accompanying this great news was also the recognition of people of African descent through a note that was written. So to me, these were the two big wins that come out of Cali, given that then there were a few losses, especially the fact that parties could not reach an agreement on many major topics like finance, for example. So then a few months later, here we are again in Rome, reconvening to talk mainly about finance and instruments on biodiversity finance. So I'm not gonna go through all details because there were like intense negotiations about it, but I guess what I can share is that the main discussion happened around resource mobilization, and all the decisions that were discussed in Rome were really depending on the outcome of resource mobilization. And mainly what was discussed on resource mobilization was, do we need a new instrument on biodiversity finance, or do we just need to reform the existing one? And so finally at 1 a.m. On the Friday, parties agreed on a roadmap for structuring a financial mechanism that goes until 2030. So we have steps at COP17, like COP17 developing criteria for financial structure, then second step COP18, reviewing existing financial entities and then decide whether to create a new one or not. And then finally, 2030 COP19, finalizing the permanent financial mechanism structure, which in more simple terms should allow for more fluidity in financing the conservation of biodiversity. So that was a big point. And I think another important point that can be very interesting for us as NGOs, civil society, and so also faith groups, was the decision on planning, monitoring, reporting, and review. It's a very scary item by the name, but to put it easily, basically within this item, which is basically about reporting, it's written in the decision that there is a possibility for non-state actors, so us, to report commitments through a reporting tool alongside the states. So that's a good news, and it was kept despite some countries being not so happy about this idea that civil society could also report commitments. So the solution that was found was that non-state actors can report, but parties can review the commitments. If they are not happy, the commitments will not be published, but if nothing happens within 4 weeks, then the commitments can be published. So it's good because it still gives the possibility to report. And so for faith-based organizations that wish to share about their initiatives implementing the KMGBF initiative to conserve biodiversity and preserve biodiversity, that's an opportunity to do so. There is, in the decision, there's a template to report on our action for biodiversity, and we will be able at some point when it's made available to report on the commitments that we make at the community level. And that was interesting to witness that civil society can still, report and can still have a voice in that. And then very quickly to conclude about the Faith Coalition that Dr. Luke talked about in Cali, that was really amazing to see so many different faith groups coming together. And to give an idea, we had a faith hub in Cali, so it was a small area where all the events, all the side events almost regarding faith and biodiversity were held, and we hosted more than 25 events throughout the 2 weeks. There were sessions of morning silence that were organized every day, multi-faith mindful moments during lunch break. We also had the opportunity to launch a report that is called Uniting for Nature. And this report is, I'm putting the link there, showcasing 20 case studies of faith communities that are restoring degraded ecosystems, protecting biodiversity. So it's very hopeful, and it's very interesting to read it. And then one great moment of COP16 was our meeting with the CBD Secretariat. So among with other faith organizations, we were able to meet with Astrid, and we were able to have a really open discussion about the role of faith groups in the implementation of the Coming More Global Biodiversity Framework. So in conclusion,
I'm going to have to interrupt here. We've got a very strict time schedule, but I want to thank you for everything that you have shown and expressed. And Dr. Luke Andrianos, I want to thank you also for your very well done PowerPoint. Anyways, thank you for giving us a little bit of hope. Next we have on the program is Ms. Jacobit Salono from Panama. She is a dynamic person that I am so grateful to have in my life. She is an Indigenous representative of Kuna community in Panama. Jacobit is the director of Indigenous Memory and a missionary of Unitas in Mission. Currently, she is pursuing a PhD in theological studies at NATES, and she is from the Gunadul Indigenous Nation, and as stated, she is from Panama. Welcome, Jacobit. I look forward to your presentation on why the Indigenous community's contributions are important for biodiversity protection.
Thank you, Dr. Leisha, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I am from Kuna Dule people, as Leisha say, and then I was in the COP16. I want to tell a brief summary what is the importance of the role of Indigenous people in this context. I want to begin with this small song with Kuna people always singing in our community when we are talking with to care the nature, to care the mother air. Ay de guille, nana burba valamide, nueito malo de guille. The grandmother and grandfather always call to us to listen very carefully the voice of the earth, the voice of the mother earth, guardian of life, the prophetic voice of indigenous peoples, and the legacy of Article 8G in biodiversity conservation. Imagine a living planet throwing with the chaos millions of species along that breathes through vast forests and oceans. The Amazon, with its infinite wealth, is not only a biodiverse landscape, but a sacred home for indigenous people. A vibrant mosaic of culture, language, ancestral knowledge that has weathered and honored the land for millennia. Indigenous people are not merely inhabitants of these lands, they are true guardians, custodians of wisdom that sustain existence itself. Without their active presence and knowledge, the fragile balance of our planet will be an street wreck. In their hands lies the key to healing, protecting, and restoring life in its fullness. At COP16, as my colleagues say already, we have a big state about indigenous rights. The Article 8G reminds us that protecting biodiversity cannot be merely an environmental policy. It is a profound act of cultural and spiritual justice. Its goal and achievement show us that conserving life requires intercultural dialogue that incorporates the methodologies and epistemologies of indigenous people. This ancestral knowledge system transmit orally from generation to generation, as I try to sing with you. Contain unique ways of relating to and caring for the land, methods that preserve ecosystem while also safeguarding language, history, and worldviews. In Spanish, we call cosmoexistent. It means it's not only how we can see the life and how we live in the life. However, this path still faces great obstacles. History reveals that despite the establishment of the Article 8G, both the indigenous people continue to confront monumental threats, the destruction of their territories by mining and extractivism, the appropriation of the knowledge and resources, and the rapid loss of their language and tradition. When indigenous people, we lost our language and identity, we lost a lot of how we understand to care the biodiversity. Biodiversity is vanishing, but so are the methodologies and worldview that enrich humanity. Because our grandmother and grandfather, there are the memories of the life, and they know a lot how we can conserve the biodiversity. The conservation of biodiversity also means preserving a way of life, a living of epistemology that offers vital lessons on how to live in harmony with the earth. The history of indigenous people teach us that the land is not commodity but a living mother, a sacred organism requires respect, care, and love. They showed us, our people show us that the true guardians of biodiversity are those who recognize the sacred relationship with the land, who have learned to listen to its message in every ritual, story, and ancestral practice. These guardians, with their holistic and spiritual perspective, reveal that protecting biodiversity is not only about saving species, but also about conserving ways of knowing, feeling, and relating to life itself, because the different species and the biodiversity in our land and in the world uh, show us the image of God. Within their story and methodology, indigenous community teach us that the conservation of life is not a marine policy, but our view passed down through generation. Well, maybe to finalize a little more about that, to understand, it's important to recognize the indigenous rights, to recognize the land rights, to recognize the importance of indigenous people when we are talking about good living, and when we were in Spanish, which is different from vivir bien, when we understand the different good living with living well is different. When we were is good living, but many of the time the humanity only want to live in living well, but they don't care to good living. That concept philosophically is so important in indigenous people because they are invited to us to understand better our relation with all biodiversity. I have some more to say, but I finalize here for the time, just to finish with the last part of the song. Ay, ye de, ye. My Kuna people say, listen very well, the voice of the earth. Listen very well, the creator. Listen very well, the voice of the wisdom, the voice of the biodiversity, because they call to us to be human beings, to care the mother earth, to care the biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacobit, for that very interesting and inspiring message. Next, we're going to have a Season of Creation message song. It's called Peace with Creation. And Reverend Rachel Mash, I invite you once again to be with us and to share that song.
Thank you. So just as today the theme is harmony with creation, the theme for the Season of Creation this year is peace with creation. The Season of Creation runs from the 1st of September to the 4th of October, and we invite people to take the opportunity this year to join with this theme. It's based on Isaiah 32 that says, "Justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness abide in the fruitful field." Biodiversity loss is an issue of justice. It is intergenerational justice. It is interspecies justice. And it is about our relationship with God. Where there is no peace, there is violence. And we see how violence also has an impact on biodiversity loss. Just to give a few examples, we see in the Amazon the violence against the protectors of the forests. We see in Gaza how the olive groves are being cut down. And we see in the rainforests of the Congo how where there is violence, the armies and the refugees flee into the forests, causing destruction, cutting down trees for charcoal, and destroying biodiversity. And so we would like to invite you to listen to this beautiful song that is challenging us that we need peace and harmony with creation. Thank you.
Let's come together. restoration, care for creation. This is our resolution. The earth displays God's glory. Adore the beauty of His design. Let's do it what is good. Save the earth with our best. The earth displays God's glory. Adore the beauty of His design. Let's do it what is good. Save the earth with our best. Friends and children, let's come together to save all of God's creation. Friends and children, let's come together to save all of God's creation. Great is His creation. It needs restoration. Care for creation. This is our resolution. Great is His creation. It needs restoration. Care for creation. This is our resolution. Oh dear earth, don't cry. We are here for you. Oh dear world, no more crying. We are one family. Today's our time, not tomorrow. Let's heal the earth and love the poor, because this is our common home, and it is our goal. Today's our time, not tomorrow. Let's heal the earth and love the poor, because this is our common home, and it is our goal.
Thank you very much, Reverend Rachel Mass, for sharing that wonderful song with us. Moving along, next we have a representative, Mr. Kevin Mena from Kenya. Kevin is a member of the World Council of Churches Commission on Climate Justice and Sustainable Development and a representative of the Anglican Communion. So for the next 5 minutes, you have the floor, Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Leslie and colleagues. So youth, I'll share on youth and children and how we can incorporate them in these works. And youth and children, as we know, are very essential in protecting biodiversity. And we have been reminded that the earth is God's creation entrusted to us to take care of. And the question would be, who will take care of it now and tomorrow, if not the youth and the children? Biodiversity has been defined in various ways, and in short, it means and includes the variety of life on Earth and the interdependence that there is in there. And biodiversity supports food, clean water, climate stability, and the beauty of God's creation. But sadly, biodiversity is disappearing rapidly, as shared by Luke earlier, threatening life on Earth. And in this case, the youth and children inherit the consequences of today's environmental decisions that we make. In the same breath, they are also active leaders and innovators. Children develop values and habits very early that shape the future of the planet. Youth movements all across the world, in our different countries, we can see from them how much they show their passion and ability to advocate for justice and care for creation, even in the practical actions that they do. So children's curiosity, I would say, and connection to nature nurture the next generation of the caretakers of the earth. And in our role now as the faith community, the church must empower the youth and children through education, spiritual formation, and full participation in creation care. We encourage all churches, and in this case, all faith communities, to create spaces for young people to lead biodiversity protection efforts in their own creative ways. It can be through storytelling, it can be through projects, it can be through advocacy efforts that they have, or in any creative way that they may feel is best working for them. And faith communities can connect biblical stewardship with practical actions for the environment. And finally, we have been called to care for creation because the earth is the Lord's and everything that in it. And protecting biodiversity is a shared responsibility all across the generations, like we are represented here. And youth and children remind us of a hope that we have and a renewal, a future restored by God's grace. Through them, we can see the hope of what we are doing. Sorry? Okay. So let us support and listen. Children, Leslia, is it a question for me?
I
Okay.
I cannot understand. You just continue
Okay.
on because we have
Okay.
another minute left.
Yeah. So in finishing anyway, let us support and listen to them as very vital partners. So partners from the beginning, of consultation to the projects themselves in safeguarding the creation for all. So together as the intergenerational community of faith, empowered now by WCC's vision, we can protect biodiversity not just for ourselves, but even for the generations yet to come. Thank you so much for your audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. It's just wonderful to have people involved from your youth community to give us your perspectives, and I thank you for your time. Our next session is the question and answer session, and because of time limitations, we will be able to take only one question. I'll let Dr. Luke Andrianos and Professor Jesse Mugambi perhaps select one question, and we'll be able to go on further. Who would like to ask a question? And Luke, I'll let you be in charge here.
Thank you, moderator. There is already one question from David Coleman. As a question, it says, as Jessica indicated, there continues to be a very serious pastoral problem with the use of stewardship to encompass the totality of our relation with creation in idiomatic English language context. I think Jessica's arguments were sufficient, but it distracts from the usability of resources if such language is used. Maybe it's a question to Jessica or to all of us, but there is also a question, a small intervention from Professor Jesse. I don't know if he's here. And if he can want to start with the Q&A session, would be pleased to hear him. Professor Jesse. Otherwise, we would like perhaps Dr. Reverend Jessica to add the comment or to answer this question.
Thank you to the person who asked that question. It's an interesting dilemma, because in most places where churches have the concern around biodiversity and the climate crisis as well, the language of stewardship gets used in a really unthinking way. Like it's become a code for saying, yes, we need to take this seriously. And I value that, and I don't want to dismiss that. But we have to get more critical in terms of how we have to get more intentional in terms of thinking about our language and how our language is related to our actions and to the theologies that we create around this and the liturgies and whatnot. So I'm grateful that you lifted that piece up, because it's there with things like saying care for creation. These become sort of throwaway words that don't have much meaning behind them. And so I really want to invite people to really dig down and say, what is it you're saying? And what are the implications of it? Obviously, I'm not the only one who's thinking this, because you've raised that, and so I'm hopeful in terms of where that can go in the church.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica Hetherington. It's hard to believe we're almost at the end already. We have 2 more items. And I wanted to call to the floor Chief Edmund Sturman, who will be giving the closing prayer and spiritual message. Chief Edmund Sturman is a church congregation leader whose primary vision is to bring churches from all over Africa to learn about each other's cultural history and to tap and gain new knowledge on their roots. He is affiliated with the Nelson Mandela University's Department of Humanities and actively participates in global policy dialogues as a member of the World Council of Churches through 2 of the strategic working groups, the Biodiversity and Climate Justice Commission and the Ecumenical Indigenous Peoples Network Reference Group, a forum that amplifies Indigenous voices within the global ecumenical movement. So welcome, Chief Edmund Sturman.
Hi, Chess, colleagues, if you can hear me. I would like to say welcome to everybody logged in to this session. Allow me to offer praise to our global community and the rest of the world. We are gathered together at this moment in time, and we are grateful to the Great Spirit Creator, the one we call Almighty God. We call on you, O Great Spirit Creator, the one that created the heavens, the earth, with all its lands, its oceans, its rivers, the mountains, and all living creatures that coexist for the purpose of your glory. We recognize, O Great Spirit Creator, we recognize your Holy Trinity, who have dominion over everything in heaven, on the earth, and everything that are underneath the earth. When you created all the ecosystems, it was created in perfect harmony to coexist according to your plans and purposes. We come as indigenous communities, church communities, the earth community in humbleness to seek your face and ask your forgiveness for all men who perverted your biodiversity plans as we seek justice and restoration for our planet, our countries, and your people. Guide us as a church community seeking justice and the saving of our planet against the backdrop of a deteriorating climate and global warming, that you will with us knowledge, and that you will give us knowledge and wisdom to find solutions and to influence the decisions of our global leaders, that our global leaders are making around the well-being of our planet. The blood of our ancestors still pulses within us. They that stood for justice and peace against imperialism, colonization, genocide, and the destruction of our biodiversity and climate. We surrender all our plans, strategies, our support structures, the World Council of Churches, before your throne of grace and mercy. We ask that our humble prayer and the meditation of our heart be acceptable in your presence. Your written word declares in Romans 8, verse 20 and 21, for the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope. Because the creation itself also will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. As we embark on this journey into the unknown with faith, with hope, and with love, we believe that through love, we will be able to overcome all adversity that we must face together as community in Jesus' name. O great Spirit Creator, we ask this all in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, according to your will, word, and your works. Amen.
Thank you so much for your prayer, Chief Edmund Sturman. We'd like to close this seminar, or this webinar, with a song from Norway for the ocean. It's from the Hope Cathedral, Norway YouTube.
The ocean is suffering, what can we do? We all need a guiding star, a lighthouse that will show us the lead the way. Let's build a cathedral of hope. We all take small steps and we all have our dreams. There is hope when we walk the same way. Let's find the same path and transform it to joy. The light will shine through our dreams. Cathedral of hope, cathedral of dreams, a place between sky and the sea. Cathedral of hope, cathedral of dreams, the change begin with me. La la la, la la la, la la la. Cathedral of hope, cathedral of dreams, the change begin with me.
Wonderful. As we conclude this webinar, let's remember the power of our collective faith and action. Together, we can make a difference in protecting the beauty and diversity of God's creation. Let us continue to learn, act, and pray for the well-being of our planet. May our connection to the divine inspire us to care for the web of life. Every species, every ecosystem, and every thread of biodiversity is a manifestation of the sacred. Let us weave compassion, stewardship, and reverence into our relationship with nature. And together, may our faith guide us to protect, preserve, and cherish the beauty and wonder of our planet. Thank you, everyone who has come and joined us today, the organizers behind the scenes from the World Council of Churches, the presenters, the speakers, and all you participants who have come from such a diverse geological locations around the planet. It's amazing. North America, South America, Africa, Indonesia, India, Bangladesh, so many of you have come together. So I wanted to end off by saying to the closing message that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Keep shining your light and let us not give up on this very important love that we have for biodiversity. Thank you again for coming.